You can't tickle yourself. Try it right now. Drag your own fingers up the side of your ribs, into your armpit, the exact spot that would have you gasping if someone else did it. Nothing. A dull pressure maybe. No jolt, no laugh, no reflex to pull away. Now picture a stranger doing the identical motion. Same fingers, same speed, same ribs. Your whole body braces just imagining it. Same touch, same nerves, same brain. So where did the feeling go? Here's the thing most people never stop to ask. You've run this experiment on yourself 100 times, felt the nothing, and shrugged. But the nothing is the mystery. The nothing is your brain doing something extraordinary in the dark, editing a sensation out of your reality a fraction of a second before it reaches you. And once you see how it does that, you'll realize it isn't just doing it to tickles. It's doing it to almost everything you feel, right now, all day long. Let's fix the question first, because the obvious version is wrong. People assume the puzzle is, why doesn't my own touch feel ticklish? As if ticklishness were a property of the touch itself, like heat or roughness. But a tickle was never really about the touch. Think about what actually makes you shriek. It's not the pressure. It's the lunge, the second before contact, when you don't know exactly where the fingers will land or when. It's anticipation and a little bit of threat, aimed at the softest, most defended parts of you. The neck, the ribs, the soles of the feet, the places you'd instinctively protect from a predator. A tickle is a small false alarm, your body's threat detection firing on someone who isn't actually a threat, and the laughter is the release when the alarm turns out to be safe. So the real question isn't why your touch doesn't hurt. It's this: why can't you startle yourself? Why is it physically impossible to sneak up on your own nervous system when the fingers are right there and you could theoretically catch yourself off guard? The answer is that your brain already knows. It knew before your hand even moved. Here is the machine underneath. Every single time you make a movement, lift a finger, turn your head, curl your tongue, the command doesn't just go out to your muscles. Your motor cortex, the strip of brain that issues those orders, also sends a copy of the command sideways to other parts of the brain that will never move a muscle. Neuroscientists call that copy an efference copy. Efference just meaning the outgoing signal, the order leaving headquarters. An older name is corollary discharge. Same idea. Whenever the brain tells the body to act, it quietly CCs itself. One of the main recipients of that CC is your cerebellum, a dense ancient structure tucked at the back of your skull, packed with more than half of all the neurons in your brain. Its job, in part, is to be a prediction engine. It takes that copy of your motor command and runs a forecast. If this exact movement happens, here's the exact sensation it will produce. The precise place your fingertip will touch, the pressure, the timing, down to the millisecond. So before your hand has even finished traveling to your ribs, your cerebellum has already generated a ghost of the feeling, a prediction of what your own touch is about to feel like. And then, it does the strange part. When the real touch finally arrives, your brain doesn't just receive it, it compares. It lays the incoming sensation against the prediction the cerebellum made, and it does a subtraction. Where the prediction matches reality, and for your own movement, it matches almost perfectly. The brain turns the volume down. It cancels the signal. It's called sensory attenuation, and it means the touch you generate yourself is literally quieter in your nervous system than the identical touch from outside, muted at the source before it ever becomes a conscious feeling. This is why your own fingers feel like nothing special. Not because the nerves in your ribs failed to fire, they fired fine. Your brain simply looked at the report, saw, yes, I predicted this is just me, and filed it under expected. And expected things barely make it to awareness. The stranger's hand can't be predicted. Your cerebellum has no copy of their motor command. It never left your motor cortex because it wasn't your movement. So there's nothing to subtract. The signal arrives at full volume, unattenuated, flagged as external, unexpected, other, and your body does what it evolved to do with an unpredicted touch on a vulnerable spot. The tickle, in other words, isn't a feeling the world gives you. It's a feeling your brain lets through. But maybe you're not convinced yet. Maybe this all sounds like a tidy story with no way to test it. That's exactly what a group of scientists in London thought too. So they built a machine to catch the brain in the act. In the late 1990s, at University College London, a researcher named Sarah Jane Blakemore and her colleagues set out to prove the prediction was real by breaking it on purpose. They built a tickling robot. A person would move one hand on a lever, and that lever controlled a soft piece of foam that stroked the palm of their other hand. So the participant was, in a real sense, tickling themselves. Their own movement drove the touch, and as expected, self-generated, it barely registered, predicted, subtracted, muted. Then the researchers started slipping a delay into the machine. You'd move the lever, but the foam would arrive on your palm a fraction of a second late, a tenth of a second, a fifth of a second, or they'd rotate the direction, so your hand went one way and the touch traveled another. And the tickle came back. The more delay, the more offset between what you did and what you felt. The more ticklish your own touch became. At around 0.2 of a second of lag, people rated the sensation as nearly as tickly as a stranger's hand. Sit with what that means. Nothing changed about the touch itself. Same foam, same palm, same pressure, your own movement driving all of it. The only thing that changed was the timing. The cerebellum made its forecast, the touch arrived a beat late, the prediction missed, and the instant the forecast failed, your brain reflagged the exact same sensation as someone else, as a surprise, as a threat. You can watch, in that experiment, the precise scene where me becomes not me. It's not in the skin, it's in whether the prediction lands on time. That's the whole mechanism caught in a machine. But if your brain is running this cancellation on tickles, a question should be forming, because your hands are the least of what your brain has to predict. Turn this on the rest of your day, and it starts to explain things you've never once questioned. Right now, flick your eyes from one side of the room to the other. The room held still, didn't it? But your eyes just swept across their entire field of view. The image on your retina smeared like a camera whipped sideways. You should have seen a blur. You didn't, because your brain sent an efference copy of the eye movement command and predicted the smear and canceled it, a phenomenon called saccadic suppression. For those milliseconds while your eyes are in flight, your visual world is essentially edited out and stitched back together, and you never notice the cut. Here's another one. Your own voice, right now, played back to you from a recording, sounds wrong, thinner, higher, like a stranger. Part of that is bone conduction, but part is prediction. When you speak, your brain forecasts the sound of your own voice and dampens it, so you can keep hearing the world over your own talking. The recording strips the prediction away and hands you the raw, unattenuated version, and it sounds like someone you've never met. And the deepest one, you have almost no awareness of your own heartbeat. The shirt against your shoulders, your tongue resting against your teeth, the constant weight of your own limbs. Not because those signals aren't arriving. They're arriving every second. Your brain is predicting them and subtracting them, all of it continuously, so that the unpredicted thing, the world, the other, the surprise, can stand out against the silence. You are not experiencing your body. You're experiencing the small residue your brain failed to predict. The tickle is just the one place where the machinery is clumsy enough and the stakes low enough that you can actually feel it working. There's a darker edge to this, and it's worth being careful and honest about. If self-tickling depends on your brain correctly predicting your own actions, then what happens when that prediction system breaks down? Some of the same researchers looked at people with schizophrenia, a condition that can involve exactly this confusion. The sense that your own thoughts or movements are being made by someone else, an outside force, and in some studies, Those individuals were better able to tickle themselves than people without the condition. The self-generated touch didn't get muted the way it normally does. The careful interpretation is that a weakened prediction system might blur the line between self and other. So an inner voice starts to feel like an external one. Your own action starts to feel imposed from outside. When the brain can't reliably tag, "This is me," the boundary of the self gets porous. I want to be honest about how far that goes. This is an area of active research, not a settled equation. And I'm not telling you ticklishness diagnoses anything. It absolutely doesn't. But the direction it points is genuinely staggering. The ordinary, unremarkable fact that you can't tickle yourself. Maybe a small daily readout of the same system that keeps your sense of self intact. The feeling of being one person, authoring your own actions, might rest partly on this constant, invisible act of prediction and subtraction. And now, the part where I have to tell you the truth about what we don't know, because it's the best part and because the science genuinely stops here. We can explain, in real mechanical detail, why you can't tickle yourself. Efferent's copy, cerebellar prediction, sensory attenuation, that's solid, tested, caught on camera. But we cannot fully explain the thing sitting right next to it, why tickling makes you laugh at all. Think about how odd it is. A light, harmless touch triggers not just a flinch, but helpless, convulsive laughter. The same laughter as a joke, produced by something that isn't remotely funny. You can even laugh while hating it, begging the person to stop, laughing anyway. That laugh isn't happiness, it's a reflex wearing happiness's clothes. There have been guesses for over a century. Darwin thought the ticklish spots and the laugh were tied to social play. You laugh at a tickle for the same reason you laugh at a joke, and both need the safety of someone you trust. Others have proposed it's a bonding mechanism between parent and child, or a kind of play fighting that teaches you to defend your vulnerable spots while keeping the whole thing safe and warm. There's a hint from the animal world. Rats, when tickled, produce high-pitched chirps that look an awful lot like laughter, and they'll come back for more, which suggests something ancient and pre-human is going on. But why the nervous system converts a defensive reflex into a laugh, what the laughter is actually for, why it needs another person, nobody has closed the case. The mechanism of the cancellation is understood. The meaning of the laughter is still open. And I'd rather hand you the honest open question than a tidy invented answer, because the open question is the more astonishing thing to be holding. So here's where this leaves you, sitting inside your own body right now. While you've been listening, your brain has been predicting and deleting the feeling of your clothes against your skin, the tongue in your mouth, the pulse in your neck, the chair holding you up. It has been forecasting your own voice, canceling the smear every time your eyes moved, muting the touch of your own hands. Nearly everything your body is generating, it is quietly erasing, running a continuous forecast of you and subtracting you out so that only the world remains. You don't live in your body directly. You live one step back from it, inside a prediction of it, in the thin margin of everything the forecast failed to cancel. The tickle is the crack in that forecast. The one small, silly, unmistakable place where the prediction misses, the volume jumps back up, and for half a second, you get to feel the machinery that's been running your entire life without ever asking your permission. Drag your fingers up your ribs again. Still nothing. But now you know what the nothing is. It's not the absence of a feeling. It's your brain getting there first.